And a very good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Issues and Attitudes. My name is Jeff Owens, General Manager at WEIU TV and Radio. Today we're going to talk about all things Mattoon. We have Mattoon Mayor Rick Hall here. Welcome, Rick.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
I'm going to have you bring that a little closer to you. And Mattoon, the City Manager, Kyle Gill, making a repeat appearance.
Hello, how are you doing, Jeff?
Good, good. Well, thanks for coming over, guys. A beautiful day here in central Illinois. But it wasn't such a great weekend, so I guess we'll start off with the Friday night storms and from your point of view, kind of, where Mattoon stands and what happened and the level of damage and where we're at right now.
I'll start out saying we were very fortunate. It was just west and just north of Mattoon. We did, hit about a dozen residential houses out in the county, Alton Trucking and the LSC building, which, just a little bit of shift, a little bit farther south and east, we would have had, the residential area of Mattoon. And so we did have some power lines down and some tree branches, but as far as main structural damage to any residents or any buildings in Mattoon, it was very limited.
I know our engineers were nervous when that thing shifted north because our tower is right on 57, but we got lucky there. From your point of view as the mayor, Rick, I mean, we dodged one, but obviously a lot of damage in the nearby area.
Right. We were very fortunate. Not only did we not have any damage to, or very little damage to property, we didn't have any injuries naturally, and we just got lucky. So.
What else is going on? I know we got some things to talk about, but from your point of view, I always let you guys have the first talk. Talk about what's happening in Mattoon.
Yeah, there's a lot of exciting things happening. I think in the next year or two, we're going to see some really great things happen in Mattoon, and a lot of this takes time to get some of these things in place to happen. Of course, the biggest announcement that we've made recently is the sports complex, and I know we'll probably get into a lot more of that in just a little bit. But we've got businesses coming to Mattoon. We got a lot of economic growth. Our Mattoon in Motion project, it's gone really well. There's a lot of things that came about because of that. So, really a lot of positive things happening right now.
I know one of the things with people talking, about businesses coming to Mattoon, I know that Dunkin' Donuts having announced this morning that they're going to start, construction, by early in 2022. But everybody's looking for employees. Right. Is there any concern from the city standpoint that are there enough people to fill these jobs, or do we need to figure out a way to get more people into town?
Both. I mean, I think we do have a lot of people that can work, but then there is that struggle with all the factories in the near area, not even necessarily Mattoon, but the surrounding cities. They're all trying to figure out ways to get more employees, and there's the traveling employees and those type of issues. So I think there's a lot of people wanting to develop some stuff in Mattoon, but they are kind of sitting back and waiting a little bit on this COVID and the employees.
And not only this, still go ahead.
I was going to say, the shortage of people has been around for a long time. COVID certainly did not help it. But the good news is we've put some things in place. Lakeland College is helping us train people. Now with this LIFT program with Mattoon School District, that's helping. We're meeting this week even and try to come up with some new incentives to get people to come here. The other thing has been a housing shortage. We really don't have a lot of housing to put people in. So we're working on a couple of things there too. So hopefully we're going to solve some of these.
And funny about the LIFT thing is my son TJ said, Dad, should I take some classes at Consolidated? They must be setting up their class schedules for next year already. So right. So when you talk about the high school, not only LIFT, but all the physical changes to the sports facilities. So I've told everybody in 2 or 3 years, Mattoon was going to have a completely new look when you talk about the high school, LIFT, and then the sports complex. So it's got to be an exciting time to be involved with the city, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Very much.
Let's talk about the complex. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about it, and I guess the key thing is, it's hard to set a timeline when you're still in the fundraising aspect of it, but can you give us a little bit of details where we are in the fundraising and the timeline? I know it's a lot of moving parts.
Right. There are that we're focusing on right now. After we made the announcement, what we're focusing on now, we put together a team of people. There's actually 11 members. We established a new action committee with Mattoon in Motion that are helping with the fundraising. They're going to be working on those kind of things. But the other thing that we're focusing on really right now is sort of a deep dive into the financials, taking a look at the projections. People are concerned about is the taxes going to go up? Are real estate taxes going to go up? What's this going to have on the impact on the city? We were just able to balance the budget before. How are we going to do something like this? Well, it's a whole separate deal. It's not, they don't really interact. The city is not going to have any liabilities as a result of this sports complex. It's going to be bonds, revenue bonds, and yes, we are looking for donations, so that'll be a big part of it. But it's a $60 million project. It's one of the biggest, well, for the city itself, it's the biggest project that we've done maybe forever.
Okay.
And the biggest thing is we're looking at ways to fund it, which we're not, any existing revenues that we have, we're not pledging any of those towards this new complex. It's got to stand on its own. It's got to, the new development around it, maybe a business district or something like that, tax around those businesses to generate enough money to pay for those bonds.
I have to play devil's advocate on one point. Is there any concern on the city's behalf that there's been a lot of these kind of facilities that have popped up, not just in Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Iowa? Travel sports has just boomed over the last 20 years, and that's really what this comes from. Is there concern about that? When will the market get saturated?
Well, and that's a good question, but right now it is, like you said, booming the sports. I think we've heard figures that they're spending more money on travel sports than they are in the NFL completely. All the teams in the NFL completely. So, it is still booming. It's still a big driver. It's an economic driver for Mattoon. So, we are watching what other cities are doing, but right now we do think that we're in a good position it won't affect us that.
And right now the projections are for this kind of sports complex, they're growing at 10 to 15% a year. The company that's helping us do the feasibility studies, they're looking at the future of this industry, and it looks like it's going to continue to grow for some time yet. There's an awful lot of young people getting involved in sports, and this facility is going to give, in this area, opportunities to do that. We've heard things about, they just built something like this in Rantoul. Springfield looks like they're doing something, but there's enough teams out there that they don't want to go to the same place all the time. And there's enough teams out there that we think that, and so does the experts in this area, think that we're going to have outdoor sports. Those fields used 40 weeks out of a 52-week year.
And the other thing, the pro side of this is that with the indoor, it's a 12-month operation, yes, where a lot of these places are not 12-month operations. They're 6, 7, 8 months tops, depending on the weather. But with the fact that you can have basketball, volleyball, maybe some other odd sports indoors, maybe wrestling. I always got to push my sport a little bit.
You
there.
can do that.
There's other options, right, for other sports for the future.
Because the indoor facility is 126,000 square feet. They're going to have entertainment in there. They're going to have video games and those kind of things in there for the kids that aren't playing on the fields or other sports. They can do things while they're there. Plus, the other thing that's unique about this complex that we're building along with Rural King, there's going to be hotels, restaurants, retail, all in the same complex, and it's all walkable. So it's really something you can go and park your car and never move it if you don't want to.
And for somebody who's had 3 boys who played travel sports, that I wish I could go back in time or go whatever it is and do that, because you're right, to save time on travel and in city travel. You have to kind of sometimes time it out where you're going just to be able to walk across the street will be absolutely great. We'll get maybe back to sports a little bit. Obviously, I can talk about sports all day long, but the other thing that's come out since we scheduled you is the ambulance service.
Right.
And so talk about, the timeline of when Mattoon will have ambulance service from the city's point of view and kind of why this had to happen.
Okay. We've been dealing with the ambulance service for a long time, and I'll go back to the election. The election last April was, really kind of revolved around the ambulance service. That was the key talking point. But the voters came out and elected every person that was on the prior council that could be elected. They re-elected all of them. We do have 2 members because we had 2 spots that we couldn't fill with prior members. But they said, the community, in our opinion, said they didn't want to be in the ambulance business. It's still going to cost us a lot of money to be in that business, and it's going to be paid for by the taxpayers. And we didn't ever believe that the ambulance service the city-run ambulance service should run out a private company out of business. And so that's why we didn't want to be in the business in the first place. Yes, the courts decided otherwise. So we're going to get back in it like we were, but the issue that we're facing has not gone away. It doesn't mean we can never get out of it. The courts didn't say we couldn't get out of it. It's just that we had to get back into it now, and we're going to be addressing this issue for a while. But right now we're going to get back into it, and it's going to be several months before we can. We're not going to go out and buy new ambulances. We got to have to get our others back. We kept them. We're going to have to get them back in running condition. And the other thing is having enough people to do the
They
job.
have to be EMT certified. There's a lot of stuff underneath the surface, correct?
It's just not EMT. It's today anybody that we hire in the fire department both have to be certified as firefighters and as paramedics. And if we go back and we're told we had to go back as it was, the ambulance has to have 2 paramedics. Right now, it's going to be really tight whether we'll have enough people to do the job. Again, we got to work through those kind of things, but it's not going to be easy for us to get back into it.
Is there a timeline, Kyle, or do we?
We're thinking probably in February. We want to get the ambulances up and running. We got some labeling to do. They got to be inspected by the Illinois Department of Public Health. We got to get with the the hospital and 911, get all that signed back up, and find out how we're going to work with them. So it's going to be a little bit, but probably February would be about the earliest that we would be back in.
Will they house themselves at the fire departments, or there'll be another location that would still be the same that way?
Same place they were. It'll be ran like it was before. They'll get a third of the calls and a third of the time, and the ambulance business generates a lot of calls as it did before, but only 1 week out of 3 weeks. And so
the biggest concern is there is a paramedic shortage throughout the country, and Illinois is no different, and that's going to be our biggest struggle.
And I guess that's going to be something that you just have to address as it comes, right, based on salary and job availability. And again, it goes back to the factories are having trouble getting people that aren't qualified in some instances, and now you have to find somebody with some special qualifications. So there's more stuff. I guess that's what when you sign up for, when you get to want to be the mayor and city manager, that's what you do.
Never dull.
Yeah. There's always challenges. There's always a couple of things you got to be focusing on. I tend to be most focused on those things that are very positive for the community. We'll get through the ambulance thing, and we'll get through the pensions. That's the biggest liability that we have for the city. We'll work through those things because everybody else has got the same problem. This is not unique to Mattoon. Yeah. So we'll get through those. But the good things is that we've got some really positive things going on that I think will help us.
And some of the things, I think the downtown events seem to be going overwhelmingly good. I think you could probably do one of those every other weekend and it would be success. So do you see adding more things like that in the future?
It's hard to say. I think so. I mean, we'd like to probably do something more in the summer. We've tried to. We had a WCIA hometown event one summer. Like to do something like that again with maybe one of the car shows and some live music downtown. So we're always looking at some different and see if there's some groups that want to do something to have more of those.
The other thing about the downtown area is, we've been doing the streetscaping project for a while, and we get our last 2 blocks done next year. That's the plan. So the downtown area, as it continues to, the sidewalks, the landscaping, the parks, the new street lights, all that stuff is going in the right direction. Along with that, as you know, a lot of the buildings are getting remodeled, apartments upstairs. Those things all contribute to put on a lot more new events downtown. I can see a lot more things going on, and the downtown merchants are they're a big part of that. Arts and tourism gets involved, but really a lot of that is driven by the downtown merchants.
Yeah, and we're going to have Ed Dowd on next week, so we'll talk a little bit more of the chamber side of things next week for the city. Today we're talking with Rick Hall and Kyle Gill from the city of Mattoon about more city of Mattoon business and things like that. But you did mention, and you sparked my interest in new businesses coming to Mattoon. Any breaking news you want to break, or any hints you want to give us?
No breaking news, but
worth a shot, right?
Yeah. Not for me. You might dig it out at Kyle, but you're not going to get it. But there are some very, very good things coming.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're going to be tickled to death.
Yeah, a few things that I could talk about. Intech was a new heating and electronic business that was built out kind of by Home Depot, and Napa has bought the old
I heard about it, yeah.
Ray-Ban Tire or Ben Tire building, so they're getting ready to remodel that. So those are a couple that we can talk about, but there is several more that...
Maybe one that's coming in JCPenney's at some time? That's
maybe.
the one that seems to have everybody's attention. But,
Right.
So, but you won't name names, so I won't even ask. I know. I'll try though. Okay, when we talk about the city of Mattoon business right now, with COVID still having its ugly head up, are we all? Is everything open and business offices open, or is there any special things that are happening still with COVID?
We still have City Hall and the police department closed down, other than by appointment. So trying to keep our employees healthy and safe, and so we're allowing public in, but it's by appointment only. So we have several meetings and stuff like that. But we've adapted to do so much online through COVID, and it's helped. And we seem to be able to, meet everybody's needs and still be able to be closed and keep our employees safe.
That was one of the questions I would ask. Has COVID helped streamline some things that are done from the city's point of view? Is that a good or bad, or what do you think?
Well, one of the things that we saw when COVID first started, we were really concerned about the loss of retail taxes because it's a big part of the revenue that keeps the city running. The good news is retail taxes actually did better than we were doing before because of certain industries that actually did so much better. Some of the retail companies, the auto dealerships, there were several that did unbelievable years, the last year and a half at least. And so that helped us a lot, but we saw there are people that haven't fully recovered yet. The restaurants are not quite doing as well. Some of them built takeout services, drive-up services, things. They had to get creative to make it. We lost a couple, but by far, I think the people that are going to survive this are going to be a lot stronger.
When dealing with car businesses, I noticed as you see the lots, and we're lucky, and I said we're lucky in Coles County that we have Deeples, Pilsen, and Casey Summers as the main three dealers in terms of new cars. But even their lots are starting to be scarce. Are they concerned, or are they do they think it's close to being where the shift is getting ready to come back towards with vehicles coming to towns?
They haven't really expressed that they're real concerned yet, but some of them have taken the opportunity to fix up their parking lots while they've had less inventory. But they're selling them just as fast as they're getting them in, and sometimes they're spoken for before the truck even gets here. So they seem to be doing well.
And I think what Mayor Rick said is that with the people were concerned about with COVID causing taxes, but it's also made people maybe shop locally more. They just go out, get what they need, and come home maybe.
Right.
And sometimes that's good for a city like Mattoon and even Charleston.
It is, and I think, like you said, it's a good example that shop local does work.
Yeah.
It does help.
We're going to go back to. I've had Kyle on a few times, so I want to pick your brain a little bit. And I've obviously known Rick for a long time. When you decided to make the run for mayor, what was kind of your going through your mind, and then what was your initial thoughts of, I want to be the mayor of Mattoon?
I had looked at being mayor for Mattoon for quite a while. Tim Gover, the previous mayor, and I were good friends, and we talked about that when I did run. And I thought it was really my turn to try to do some things. I've felt like I've done a lot of things. I've been elected for the commissioner several times and for the school board several times, and had a lot of success. And I felt very comfortable in being mayor. And when I did win the mayor's position, of course, my wife really well too. She says it's
You mean the real mayor of Mattoon?
Yeah, the real mayor. Yeah, the Mrs. Mayor. But she was very supportive of me, and I really enjoy what I do. I enjoy helping the city of Mattoon. Kyle, unfortunately, has to spend a lot of time with me, which may not be good for him. But I think we get along really well. I think we work really well together. We've got a good council again. We've got some really good commissioners. We've got a couple of new ones that are still learning their way around some of the governmental issues, which they haven't had to do before. But we've got a lot of good things going for us, and it's always good to work with a team of people that make a real contribution. And I'm fortunate that I have good people to work with. And we've got some hard-working employees in the city of Mattoon.
As you look forward to 2022, is there any Rick Hall things you would like to see done from your point of view from the mayor?
Well, actually, when we got elected, one of the things I did right up front was call together the council members, the department heads and even the citizens of Mattoon and say, what do we want to do in the next 5 years? What do we want to say we've accomplished? And we came up with like 24 or 25 things on a list, and we had to narrow it down. We narrowed it down to 7. From what I can tell right now, we've got a really good start on those 7 items, and it's something that we all agree. Not only the council members themselves, but the department heads and even the citizens, that these are the things that we want to do in the next 4 years. So we've got some objectives, and I think we're going to have a really good 4 years.
Can you list a couple, maybe the ones that people aren't as familiar with? Is there
Sure.
something?
Yeah, we've got. One of them was actually, coincidentally enough, to develop a new idea where we can promote the community in much like sports or another venue. Well, so happens within literally 30 days after we had that meeting, and it was one of the top ones of the list, we started working on this sports complex thing, and it'll blow away what we thought we might be able to do. And I really think it will happen. One of the things that come up, which kind of surprised me, was we felt like, even though the council thought it was a good idea, but it came from citizens, they wanted more police activity. They wanted more policemen on the workforce. They saw what was happening in places like Urbana and some of the
3
other
more
areas.
shootings in Champaign this week?
Yeah,
I mean,
it happens every day. The way you don't want to get into a situation where you have to, once that starts, is to get rid of it. What we want to do, and I think we got great police officers. We got, 38 of them right now, and we think we need at least 4 more, and we'd like to get there, because if your community police work and you can prevent those things from happening. Not that we don't have some problems, but we don't have anywhere near some of the problems some of the other communities are having. So additional policemen was certainly one of them. We wanted to hire an economic developer, a dedicated person, and truthfully, we really kind of put that on hold, honestly. And the reason why we put that on hold, I think if we come up with a sports complex, we're going to drive so much economic growth just from that we're not going to have to hire someone to bring it in. We're already getting
It'll be a natural
contacts
occurrence,
almost,
yeah.
Almost weekly. Someone comes to us and say, "Hey, I'd like to do something in Mattoon, and you got this sports complex coming." So, I mean, those are a couple of them. We need a grant writer. There's so many grants available right now. We don't have the horsepower. A grant writer is almost a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It's just finding the right one, because a grant writer, if you get a decent one, they're going to pay their salary 4 or 5 times over.
Oh, yeah.
So that was another one. There's a few.
Those are, because it seems like we always hear about the big stuff. The sports complex is kind of taken. Everybody's talking about it, right now. It seems like every day.
I want to mention one more key one is residential development.
Right.
We're looking on residential in an areas. We're looking at about 3 or 4 areas, and
where can we expand? Is what I was going to go.
Yeah, and because the real estate agents, the contractors, people want to buy homes in Mattoon. Medium to upper medium houses, medium income houses. And we've got 3 sites that we're looking at now. We think we can really get this thing going. We're looking at tax incentives, ideas to have people to come into the city. Of course, growing the city, you got more labor, you've got more tax money you can use for other things. So, that's certainly a key one.
Okay.
Yeah. The difficult with housing is just the cost of all the concrete, sidewalks, lighting, water, sewer. So we're trying to figure out ways to help to bring those, what would be a $50,000 lot, down to realistically down, $15,000, $20,000.
And visually, when you look at it, I mean, can we go east or west, north or south, or is there expansion possibilities on all those?
We got some expansion just about any direction,
Okay.
but it does seem to be more towards the east side and south side.
Okay, that makes sense.
Jeff, if I want to, let me just
No, you're
mention
good.
one other one that we've got on our list, and this is something that we've tried before. The city of Mattoon has a commission form of government, and we want the best form of government that suits the citizens of Mattoon. We've looked at a managerial form of government before, and we haven't had success in doing anything with that. I think there's going to be another effort coming from the citizens that are going to support going to a managerial form of government, which would be It does a couple things, and I can mention two of them. One of them is that today all council members are replaced, including the mayor, at the same time. That is a bad way to run a city.
That's been brought up since I started this show.
Right, right. And
Mayor Gover is one of the ones who said that forever.
Managerial form of government doesn't allow that to happen. The other thing is there's a lot of confusion about having the ability for a commissioner to actually run a department, or having a city manager who's trained to do that, to run that department. And the managerial form of government allows the city manager to run the city, becomes in effect the CEO of the city. And the city commission form of government's more difficult to get that to happen. So
what's the process?
It's got to get on the next ballot.
Okay.
You know, the key is get it on the ballot. Let the citizens decide.
The citizens would have to put it on the ballot. Is that how that works? Or
that's one way.
Okay.
We can put it on.
Okay.
We can put it on there.
Yeah, we can put it on there. But a city group could get together and do that, and certainly that's important in getting it passed, or having a better chance to get it passed.
Is there a way to staircase the 4 commissions so they're not always being renewed or is that locked in?
So it's locked in with the commission form of government.
All right, we don't have a choice there.
All right. Now, I guess somebody would also ask, we have a city manager, so when you say add a managerial style, that's not the same.
Okay, there's a difference, though. Kyle is a city administrator. He can't legally be a city manager.
I gotcha.
We've attempted to pass those responsibilities on to Kyle, but if a commissioner says, no, I don't want to play that game, I'm a commissioner, I can run that department,
Gotcha.
then he has legally the authority to do that.
Okay. We got a minute and a half left here with Kyle, Gill, and Rick Hall. Any other things about what's going on in Mattoon that you guys want to talk about today?
Like I said, Mattoon's just a lot of buzz going on with the sports complex, but then with other, that driving economic development, there's other people looking at businesses. Everybody's kind of holding out a little bit with the COVID and employment, but I think we're going to see good growth in the next couple of years.
City jobs? Are there any city jobs open right now?
Yes.
Grant writer.
Grant writer. We actually do parks and lakes maintenance employees. We're going to have ad out there tomorrow. That we do have a couple openings out there. So
I'll end up with a comment if I can. If I have just a minute here. One of the things.
30 seconds.
Okay. City of Mattoon organizations like Lakeland College and School District, Sarah Bush Lincoln, the City of Mattoon work together so well. We can really got a huge chance of success in a lot of these projects.
Okay. Appreciate you guys coming in so much today. I learned a lot. Actually, I have a lot more stuff we can talk about, but we kind of flew right through to the end. So. Mayor Hall, thanks for coming for your first visit. I'll definitely have you back here maybe midway year next year and go from there. And Kyle, it's always good to see you.
Always good seeing you.
At this time of the year, Tim Gover always used to come, and I miss that guy so much. And one thing he loved to do. Do you do ride-alongs? Do you do with the
I do, yes.
He loved those. Remember those? We talked about those friends.
Yeah. So. Lately, because of coronavirus, I haven't done as much of that, but I have done some of those still.
There you go. So, all right, everybody have a great holiday. We are WEIU.